How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? We're back again, episode 6 of Football Shock's Football Agenda. We'll quickly introduce ourselves. We've got John here. I'm a Luton fan.
Bradley, I'm an Arsenal fan.
It's Mr. Young, alive, handsome and healthy, Shay, an Arsenal fan.
It's Colt, the undefeated against Arsenal in the Premier League Leeds fan.
and James, Manchester United
Wow. What a minnow.
We want to talk about some of the games last week, mainly about the teams we support. First of all, obviously, it's the Leeds against Arsenal. Now, I'll admit, I didn't actually watch it, right? But a 0-0 draw, in any case, we might have played some good football, but it was quite underwhelming as a neutral. Kieran, I know you've got a lot to say, so let's start with you.
If I'm completely honest, I'm actually really disappointed. I think we should be getting 3 points against these kind of teams. The Minnows from South London, they came up, did fuck all. Bradley and Shay can make all the faces they want. I know they know football, and deep down, I know they were very happy to get out of Ellen Road with a point. And that, to me, feels quite sweet. I feel like... I'm disappointed we didn't get the win because we had the chances to win it. We only have ourselves to blame for not winning it. Our finishing was poor, but equally, I think the last 10 minutes, we've hit the post 3 times. So at that point, it's just really not your day. Particularly the Bamford header at the end, he did everything right. He's headed it low, hard, and it's actually hit. I went back and watched it. It hit the inside the post and came out. But that's football. It happens. It's disappointing. But I do think it was important for us to not lose that game. Obviously, we've lost the 2 before that. We needed some points on the board. We did get at least something out of the game. But yeah, disappointing because these are the kind of teams we need to be beating, I think.
Teams on a similar level, yeah?
I mean, let's be real here, right? I said at the start of the season, Arsenal will finish around 8th again, and I said Leeds will finish around 12th. So they're 2 mid-table teams. I think that's quite accurate. They can make all the faces they want.
First of all, before I get into the game, I just want to say for tomorrow, happy 20th anniversary, Colt. Tomorrow will be 20 years since Arsenal last lost to Ellen Road. 20 years. Yeah? That's fact number 1. But overall, no, in all seriousness, the plan for me was actually to go up to watch the game with Colt in Leeds when the fixtures came out. But obviously, COVID stopped that. And I'm so happy that I didn't watch it in person with him. It was an absolute horror show from Arsenal, unfortunately. The first half, I don't think we even had a shot on target in the first half. And then in the second half, Nicolas Pepe just headbutts one of Leeds' bum defenders, some no-name guy, and then we're down to 10 men, and then we're hanging on, but we also had 1 or 2 chances where we could have actually won the game. I mean, Saka had a chance where he tried to take it around the keeper, didn't work out. So overall, it was a poor result, poor performance. Tactically, I hate to say it, our manager, I love Mikel Arteta, but he got schooled tactically by Bielsa in that game.
Some common sense.
Tactically, no, he did. He got schooled, but we need to get some creativity back in that team. Aubameyang didn't really do much, so it was a horror show by Arsenal. Obviously, I wanted to win the game, but yeah, we move on now. That was like a home game for us. We own that stadium, and no matter how bad we are, you still can't beat us. No matter how bad we are, you still can't beat us. Let that sink in. Go on, respond now.
I just want to say there, again, I was telling you for weeks ago that Bielsa is another level to Arteta, and it was naive to even suggest Arteta was anywhere near him. He's got a long, long way to go. As you can see, Bielsa's been nominated for the FIFA Best Coach of the Year today. Arteta's got nowhere near that list.
That's right, yeah.
It was naive to suggest Arteta was anywhere near his level. Like I said, I think if our finishing was better, it could have been a very bad day for you. But yeah, you were lucky to get away with a point. But I want to. You touched on Pepe there as well. I said you overpaid for Pepe. I said you got bent over. It's been proved time and time and again. Alioski, I think, is a good player. I don't think he's an amazing player. He's not the first name on the team sheet for Leeds, but he completely marked him out the game. And the reason why Pepe headbutted him is he lost his rag because he wasn't getting anything. He had a first half where he didn't do anything. The second half was going the same way, and he couldn't handle it, and that's why he headbutted him. And on that, he should get a ban because it was pathetic behaviour from Pepe, childish.
The thing is, right, Kieran, I know for these 2 Arsenal dudes, it's a lose-lose situation, really, about this. If they win, you're going to say they're expected to, but if they lose, you'll never let them live it down. So I think a draw was probably kind of fair for us.
Who cares about that, though? That's just Kieran's fantasy world. We don't give a damn. Like, at the end of the day, a win is a win, a draw is a draw, a loss, an L is an L. But Kieran likes to just gloss things up and make them look pretty in his own little world. At the end of the day, I will concur with what Shay said about the performance. It was shocking, but I'm not surprised. That midfield, Emery's played with that same midfield. Even Wenger with Ceballos out of there has played with that same midfield, and Bellerin at right back as well. These are just players that just have let managers down time and time again. And you did dominate the game, but ultimately you couldn't put the ball in the net when we had 10 players for 35 minutes. That's poor. It's absolutely poor. And you can't deny that.
Imagine spending hundreds of millions and your best player being the goalpost.
Or the guy between the sticks.
He
played absolutely unbelievable. No, he made countless saves.
He made one good save. The rest were the kind of standard. I don't put that on Leno. I blame it on our poor finishing while we didn't win that game.
Well, all I can say is Patrick Bamford back again.
This is what Bamford
touch
scored
of a
8
rapist.
goals.
You know what I mean?
Bamford scored 8 goals this season, and Aubameyang, this world-class striker you banged on about signing again, has scored 2. So sit down.
Well, he's only as good as his service. And you even said the other day, if Aubameyang had half the chances that Bamford would have had, he would have scored a hat-trick. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah,
He's not this type of player who's just going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. He's a goal scorer. He's a finisher. And he's not getting the service at the moment. That's the problem with Aubameyang. But if he gets those chances that Bamford had, it's buffet. You know what I mean? Eating that up.
I mean, as you boys know, I'm quite neutral in this game. But obviously, because of how invested you two have been banging on and having a go at each other for the past few months, I had to watch the game. And all I can say is Leeds were definitely the better team, even when you had 11 men. I actually thought Arsenal were better once you went down to 10.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I don't know if that's maybe the players all just looked at themselves and thought, we got to dig deep here. And because of that, they just put in a bit more of a shift. If that is the case, maybe you could question what was going on when they had 11 men. Do you know what I mean? Why didn't they have that mentality? But saying that, like we're saying, Leeds should have won the game. Poor finishing is what cost them. And ultimately, I still think they need to shore up that defence. I mean, I'll hold my hand up and say United, I think, have their own defensive issues as well. But if Leeds aren't careful, they could have easily lost that game with those 1 or 2 chances Arsenal did have. Hey, I mean, 0-0 draw. I don't think any of us expected that with the way that both teams have sort of been playing lately.
Do you know what, actually?
It wasn't too bad.
Just before, because I know Shay and Kieran both wanted something to say, but I've done a little research and it was pretty much written in the stars that it was going to be a 0-0 draw. Leeds have been playing very good football quite often, but they're just not doing that great clinically. And Arsenal haven't scored from open play in, I think it was 476 minutes. And that's just an incredible statistic considering the amount of money they've spent on their attack. Shay, have you got anything to respond to that?
There's basically 2 things that I want to say. First of all, I want to shout out Calvert-Lewin, a proper up-and-coming England striker, yeah? Before the game, Patrick Bamford basically was doing an interview and he said that he was upset by not getting the call-up. That was the game for you to prove why you need the call-up, and you didn't show it. Yeah, he didn't show. He proved why he's not getting the call-up. He proved why he'll always be a backup England striker. Calvert-Lewin, Harry Kane, Danny Ings, they all score those chances. Yeah? Patrick Bamford is riding the wave. The wave will end soon. But in all seriousness, though, in all honesty, as a Leeds fan, Colt, how can you sit there from Sunday evening chatting rubbish on our WhatsApp group talking about, we dominated you. You didn't win. You should be ashamed to not have won that game. Your manager.
This is where
you keep saying your great manager, quote unquote great manager. One thing I will give him credit for: the guy is a winner. Yeah, unlike you. Yeah, you accept failure. He would not have been happy with that performance. Simple as he wouldn't have been. You accept failure.
Hang on. The first thing I said here was I was disappointed to not win the games. That's just straight bullshit. You only hear what you want to hear. And again, I don't think you're in any position to criticise Bamford when he scored nearly as many goals this season as your whole team. Like, it's an embarrassing statistic. The Bamford header at the end, I actually can't criticise him for. He's done everything right, and it came back off the inside of the post. It happens. That's football. Yeah, I'm disappointed we didn't win. Like James said, we had the chances to. I'm confident when we go to the South London team that play in North London, I'm confident we'll get the win then. Justice will be done. I can ring up Lamar and say there is justice in the world because it's going to happen. And I'm confident we'll get the win then, and I'll shut this nonsense down once and for all.
Listen, Kieran, if you couldn't beat us with 11 against 10, you ain't going to beat us in our ground. I mean, you came to our ground a year ago in the FA Cup and we played our kids. Yeah, you may have dominated, but you lost the game. You then played against us with 10 men and you drew, and you could have lost the game with that Saka chance at the end. I mean, what does Arteta need to do for your manager to get a win? I mean, does he need to blindfold himself and all the other players need to, hook one leg up for you to get a win over him? It's embarrassing, mate.
Oh my God. Just you know what? Yeah, just wait and see, because I told you we'd dominate the game. I was wrong about getting the win, but I said we'd dominate. We were unlucky to not get the win. And like I said, call up Lamar and tell him, justice is gonna be done. And we'll play like that again at the Emirates. And next time we'll get a reward. And then I won't have to hear anything. This podcast will be a 3-man show for the 4 weeks after that game.
Next, guys, it was Spurs versus City. It was a 2-0 win to Spurs. Despite the teams that we're talking about here, I don't think anyone really expected anything else. Bradley, do you want to start with that one?
Classic Jose Mourinho performance. Absolute classic. And Pep, his team at the moment, they can't handle teams that hit them really quick on the break. Before they used to have Fernandinho in there putting out fires, but it doesn't seem like they have that stability in midfield to stop, quick transitions through them. And Spurs are really, really good at that. And I wasn't surprised at the result, to be honest. I thought that it might have been close, but I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, City didn't really get anywhere near getting a win. And as much as it pains me to say, as an Arsenal fan, but Spurs are looking dangerous. They're looking very, very dangerous with Bale to add to that sort of front three as well. You take out Bergwijn and put Bale in there. They're very, very threatening. But their defence, on the other hand, I just don't know if it can see them all the way to the title, as people keep suggesting. But yeah, not a result that I was surprised with.
It's a fair analysis. I see that they actually won with only 33% possession, and they scored their only 2 shots on target. James, what did you think of the game?
Yeah, pretty much along the same lines as what Bradley's saying there. It screamed of a typical Jose Mourinho performance, but at the same time, watching it, they felt so in control, even though, like you're saying, they only had 33% possession. But you still watched it the whole time going, Tottenham don't look worried here. They're dictating the game, really. Like you're saying, they scored with only the 2 only shots on target, but that's all they needed. And I mean, Harry Kane, I thought, played absolutely brilliant. Is, adapting to this new sort of position that Mourinho's sort of given him, kind of into a false 9, I suppose, is a good way of putting it. We've seen him do it in quite a few games already this season. And I just don't understand how managers aren't putting someone on that. I mean, it would have to be either your centre-back or your defensive midfielder, I think. One or the other's got to be the guy that's picking Kane up at that time. But why isn't someone just constantly floating around that sort of space? And if the centre-back is the one that goes, get the defensive mid to drop into the centre-back slot. So you've always got that back 4, and then that person sort of sitting just in front. But Tottenham completely controlled that game, deserved the 2-0 win. And a bit like Bradley says, I think they really could put a push for the title this year if they can continue that sort of form, keep players out of injury. And I don't know, if Kane and Son continue their goal scoring form, it can be one of those situations where I agree their defence looks a bit suspect possibly for the rest of the season. But if you're outscoring the other teams constantly, then you don't need to worry too much about the defence in that sense. You can build on that in the transfer windows to come.
Yeah, fair. And just before I pass it to Kieran, I just wanted to say that our player of the week, speaking of Kane, it was actually Harry Kane. We already chose it on our WhatsApp group. So me and Shay, I think, voted for Calvert-Lewin, but James, Bradley and Colt voted for Harry Kane. So Kieran, what do you think about his performance?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I agree with what's been said. I think it was a typical Mourinho performance. You can see he's already starting to implement his style on that Spurs team with how they play. But I did want to say regarding James's point about why isn't anyone picking up Kane in that position, I think teams are. What he's doing is, Kane is such a threat. He draws defenders in. And by kind of sitting back a bit, he's drawing defenders out. And that's allowing space for Son to run in behind. That's why it's been so successful.
Yeah,
because
but my point being then is the defensive midfielder then should slot into that centre-back slot. Or vice versa, the centre-defensive mid should be in that space already.
The key thing is, though, he's playing in between the lines. So it's difficult, but it's what Barcelona used to do with a false 9. He's playing in between the lines. So a lot of the time, the centre-back's like, well, there's no one for me to pick up. Kane's over there. I'm going to get tight to him so he doesn't have room. But as soon as they do that, Son's in behind. I think it will be countered eventually. I think teams will figure that out. But for now, it's working a treat. And Kane at the minute is the best player in the league. That performance was absolutely fantastic. And I agree. Mourinho's implementing his style on that team. They look very dangerous. I don't know about the league, but I definitely do think he will win something this season with that Spurs side.
Yeah, I agree.
Credit to Spurs, a very, very good victory. And to be honest, I'm not surprised because Jose is a winner. I haven't written him off. I think he's a winner. Wherever he goes, he does make some kind of positive impact, and I can see him making a positive impact down the road at Spurs. I think this year, if we're talking title challengers, I don't think City will be Liverpool's main challenger this year. I think either Chelsea or Tottenham will give him a good run this year. For obvious reasons, obviously, I don't want them to win anything, but I do think they're making very, very good strides forward. But the question is now, and this is the same question every year, can they win something? That's the question. Because they'll win these games, but can they win something? And I think they can. And I think Jose probably will win them something. Hopefully not the Premier League. But yeah, and as for Man City, very, very worrying. They don't look the same team. They haven't looked like the normal stars for quite a while. Pep signed a new contract, but I think Pep now needs to win the Champions League, but I don't think he'll win it with this current team, unfortunately.
Fair point, Shay. Yeah, that'll do with Spurs City. Did anyone watch the Liverpool-Leicester game? It was
I did.
I put it on here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, for those who don't know, 3-0 win to Liverpool, despite having a little injury crisis of themselves. Bradley, you saw the game. What were your thoughts?
It's just another example of Jurgen Klopp being the best manager in the world right now. I mean, the mentality that runs through that whole squad, it doesn't matter if Van Dijk's out. You know, it doesn't matter if Trent is out. It doesn't matter if Salah's out. Every single player that steps in has got the same mentality. It's crazy. I didn't expect Liverpool to win that game so convincingly. I thought it would actually be quite tight because Leicester have been looking good, especially, you know, on the counter-attack. But Liverpool dominated that game from start to finish. And if Firmino had his shooting boots on, I know he got a goal at the end, but he could have had a couple. And Diego Jota, what a signing. He slotted in there. For me, you know, it might just seem a little bit outrageous saying it now, but I rate him more than Salah because he's always looking, every single pass that he makes is with intent, and he's always looking to, if he's not in if he's not in the greatest position, then he'll always pass it off. And I just think with Salah, he's a little bit too greedy, and sometimes that hinders them a little bit, but he just keeps the attack flowing, moving. It doesn't matter where he is on the pitch. No, I was really impressed with Liverpool.
I mean, the one thing that I was actually a bit surprised about with the Liverpool team was actually the lineup. With the injury crisis, the way that had sort of been made out to me, I thought that Matip was injured. I thought that Fabinho was still injured. So I thought they were really going to have a hole in that centre-back. And don't get me wrong, I know Matip and Fabinho aren't their first choice centre-backs, but I think they're still too good. Well, I know that Fabinho can play centre-back or centre-defensive mid, but I think even at centre-back, he's a good player. And I think Matip's a solid player as well. And probably both of them, since playing in that Liverpool team, playing next to someone like Van Dijk, has, like we're saying, it's given them that mentality and that sort of improvement enough that when they don't play with him now, they still have that belief in themselves. And I think that's what's probably bringing out the best in them as well. But I agree. It was a bit surprising, I think, that Leicester didn't put up more of a fight. And I don't know if that's just complete credit to Liverpool or Leicester just didn't take their opportunity. I remember, I think there was a game last season where Leicester played Manchester United and we were right for the taking and they just didn't go for it enough, I felt. And we ended up winning the game 2-1 or 2-0 or something like that at Old Trafford. And I just think Leicester have that kind of chink in their armour that when it comes to a big game, at times they can sort of revert back into their shell and have a bit of an inferiority complex. Whereas Liverpool, I mean, yeah, they're playing like champions with the injuries that they've got. And I agree, Diogo Jota, for me right now, is making an argument to actually, I mean, we're saying Harry Kane is the best player in the league at the moment, but I really think Diogo Jota could have a shout if he can continue the way he's playing for maybe player of the season. Definitely signing of the season for me so far. He's been absolutely brilliant. And he could be the reason they end up, if they do win the league, I think it could be down to him. Just because they've got that extra option now in their attack that if someone does get injured or they want to go with a different sort of attacking plan for the game, they have that extra reinforcements now, which they just didn't have last year.
He's a different kind of threat, Diego Jota, because he can run and beat a man like Salah and Mane, but he can also drop and play deep passes and you know, make things happen in front of sort of the 12-yard box. He's a top talent, man.
Weird that you say as well, James, about Leicester not always performing against big teams, but a couple of weeks back, they beat Man City 5-2, wasn't it? It's a strange inconsistency that they're showing at the moment.
I think Leicester are a good side. They have good glimpses of quality, but in terms of going on the run, they just can't maintain it. For some reason, they seem to know how to play against the bigger sides. And then against some of the smaller sides, they seem to struggle. If I look at Leicester this year, 2020, before COVID, they were brilliant. And after COVID, they capitulated. So I'm not sure what it is. But it seems like they can win the games against the big sides and they can do well. But in terms of going on a long run, they seem to lack that consistency. But I do think Brendan Rodgers is a good coach. Leicester have done well to have lost players and replaced them still with decent quality. So I'll give them credit for that. But Leicester, to me, they are a 7th, 8th, 9th place team. They are an established Premier League team that's comfortably not going to be relegated, but they're going to struggle to get into that Champions League area, basically.
It is funny you say that because a couple of weeks back, I'm not sure who, it might have actually been me, but we were saying that Leicester could be pushing for Champions League spots. Kieran, any final thoughts on the game?
I think last week I summed it up really that I think everyone here last week was saying that Leicester will win the game. And I remember saying there's a reason Liverpool are champions. And that proved it. This shows why they're champions. They've had all these injuries. They were going into this game. You could argue they weren't favourites. And they slapped Leicester around. They'll win the league again this season. I really think that. I think, like Bradley said, Klopp has got the mentality in them that any player, I think, can come into that starting lineup and do a job. That, to me, with all the injuries they've got, that was one of the most impressive performances we've seen from a team this season. It really was. In terms of Leicester, I think the fact of the matter is Brendan Rodgers ain't fucking good enough. He's not. He's a good coach. He's a good coach to a level, to a degree. Listen. He's a good coach to a degree, but he is not going to get a team to win those big trophies. There's a reason the only league title he's won has been in Scotland. Because if he up there, I disregard anything he's done in Scotland because that league is shit. Winning the league there with Celtic, I could probably manage him to it. It's just it's a non-factor. There's a reason why he hasn't won a league title in England. There's a reason why he bottled it when he was at Liverpool. There's a reason why he got Leicester to a point last year and bottled it again. And Shay's right. Leicester will be a 7th, 8th team with Brendan Rodgers in charge. He won't get them to that next level.
I actually agree with Kieran on that one as well about Brendan Rodgers. I think he's a really, really, really good coach. Don't get me wrong. But I think when it actually comes down to crunch time and getting teams over the line, he's not the man for that. And I concur with what you said about...
Kieran saying this about Rodgers, but we've all said the same thing about Bielsa, but you won't hear a word of it.
There's a big difference between Brendan Rodgers and Bielsa. Like, come on now. Bielsa took a team that was finishing 13th and with pretty much the same group of players, got them promoted within 2 seasons. Like, he got us over the line. Rodgers hasn't got a team over the line.
So he's just another Eddie Howe then.
But I don't know what you're expecting.
Eddie Howe.
What are you expecting Rodgers to do?
He's managing Leicester. He's managing Leicester.
It's not like he's managing City.
No. They should have made Champions League last year and they blew it. Simple as that.
I don't disagree with that.
They blew it. And he'll do it again this year. Trust me. Missed it Colt again. Wait to the end of the season. They'll be around 7th, 8th.
No, I agree with that. I don't think they'll finish top 4. Definitely not.
They won't get him in. They need, if they want Champions League, I think they need kind of the next level up from Brendan Rodgers as a manager. I really do. I'm not saying that isn't me saying he's a bad manager. I think he's a good coach, but I don't think he's a top level coach. I don't see him winning the league in England with any team.
So would you say that Leicester have a team right now that is better than, let's say, the big 6 teams to get top 4?
Yes.
But they just need a better manager to be able to do it?
Yeah, they're a better team, I think, than Arsenal. I think they're a better team than Man U. So on that basis, they should be getting top 4.
Fair enough. They've got better individual players.
Let's move on quickly to Man United versus West Brom. James, you watched the game, obviously. What were your thoughts?
To be honest, I'll summarise this game quite quickly. It was a dull game. Not much happened. There was a penalty shout for them, which I will admit I thought we were a bit lucky to get that one overturned. It is debatable. I do think there's an argument. Does he get a toe on the ball at the same time that he kicks the player? Is that where VAR has come to these days? I don't know. And then our penalty that was given to United, this day and age, it's a stonewall penalty. If it hits the hand like that, it just is. And then the same ruling for the goalkeeper off the line for the penalty being retaken. It's the rules. It happened to us when we played Crystal Palace opening day of the season. You kind of have to suck it up. I just look at it as a poor performance, but we got the 3 points, and that's all we need at the moment. We just need to climb that table. And I think if United can get up to the kind of, let's just say, eighth to fourth place sort of area in the table, put a bit of a run together. These players seem to be players that thrive off a run, really, which I don't know if that's down to Ollie or just down to the players, because whenever Ollie seems to go on a bit of a win streak, we suddenly win about 10 or go unbeaten for 17 or something like that. Whereas if we win 2, lose 1, then we draw the next. It's very inconsistent. But if we can string a few together, maybe that can get a bit more consistency into the team and the performances.
I don't think it's got anything to do with Ollie. I think it's just Bruno Fernandes eating his Special K every single morning, man. You know what I mean? It's the same old shit with United. Penalty, Bruno Fernandes, 1-0.
But it was a penalty.
It was. It's just ironic. It's so annoying. It's so annoying to watch. But, and I did actually catch bits of that game, West Brom, they posed a bit of a threat. I mean, I think in the second half, you sort of dominated it. But that first half, they were a little bit dangerous. And on another day, it could have ended 0-0. It could have been another L.
Yeah, they had a few good opportunities, yeah. But at the same time, watching it, I didn't feel like I was worried ever at the same time. Maybe because it was so long in between each chance that they had.
Yeah, I should hope so. It was West Brom.
Yeah. but we made life difficult for ourselves. There's no denying it. And another day, that could easily have been a draw.
To be honest, sum that game up really quickly. It was 2 poor teams. I think if that game finished 0-0, none of them could have complained. United probably just about deserved it, but I think James would agree if it did finish 0-0, there couldn't have been too hard done by. I think West Brom's penalty was a penalty. I think United got away with one there. But yeah, like Bradley said, Bruno's the rescue again, saving Ollie's job. Like, he's doing a better job than the Chancellor at the minute, saving people's jobs is Bruno. Because every time Ollie he's going to get the sack, he suddenly just pulls out something like. It's like James actually said to me the other day, Bruno is a player they bought Pogba to be. He's the one that's holding it together and getting the results. But the longer Ollie's there, the better for all of us, I think. So, Bruno, keep saving him his job, really.
Shay, what did you reckon? Did you watch it?
I didn't really watch it, but no surprises. Man U beat them, but made it harder work than they needed to. West Brom are going down. And yeah, that's it, really. Ollie survives again. And to be honest, every time he needs a result, he gets the result. And Bruno, what a signing he's been, So, yeah, no surprises there.
Well, they're the games we were going to review. We'll move on to the main topic now. It was one chosen by Colt Kelly himself. Who is the greatest ever Premier League player?
I actually wanted to bring this up because last week on the show, on Take One, that obviously we couldn't release because it wasn't recorded, unfortunately. We pointed out how much City have missed David Silva. And James made a comment that, in his opinion, you can make a big case for David Silva being the greatest Premier League player of all time. And I just thought this would be an interesting debate. We're all going to have very different views. I mean, I can write what Bradley and Shay are going to talk about on a piece of paper, to be honest. Fucking Henry, King Henry, fuck off. I know that's coming. I want to set my stall out early. Henry isn't the greatest ever Premier League player. He wasn't even the best player at Arsenal when he was there. I firmly believe that's Dennis Bergkamp. I thought Dennis Bergkamp was a better footballer than Henry. I'm going to just set my stall out early. Cristiano Ronaldo is the best player to ever play in the Premier League. It pains me to say because he played for Man U, but I think realistically you can't argue with it. I think the only real argument is he wasn't in his prime long enough here, but ultimately he was here for 6 years, and the last 2 he was here, he was just another level. I think one of them he scored 42 goals, won the Champions League and Premier League. The second year, the year before he went to Real Madrid, was another unreal year. I can't remember how many goals he scored that year, but it was quite high. And this was at a time as well. I think Fergie was playing 4-4-2. So he was playing out wide of midfield 4, and he was scoring 40 goals a season. It was just ridiculous. Some of the goals he was scoring, like the free kick against, I think it was Portsmouth, where David James just stood there and was like, what was supposed to do about that? I just think he was another level. That's the only really argument I can make against it. I think he's by far the best player we've ever seen play here.
Am I right in saying as well that he is the only player ever to win all four or all six, sorry, I think like personal awards in the year? Like he won the Young Player of the Year,
Yeah, he did.
Player of the
Yeah.
Year, the PFA Player, and he's the only player to ever do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just can't see, to be honest, it pains me to say it 'cause he played for United, but I just can't see anyone who surpasses him. I really can't. Honourable mentions got to go to someone like Shearer for the amount of goals he scored, someone like Giggs as well for the amount of trophies and longevity he had. But ultimately, for pure talent, Ronaldo, I think, outstrips everyone. Oh, and also, I would like to add, again, another United player. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I would like to add, I don't think he's the greatest player ever, but he deserves a mention. Beckham, I still think he's the best crossover ball we've had in this country, but by a long way. I thought he was fantastic. But yeah, Ronaldo is my pick.
I think we need to confirm the metric that we're using here, Kieran, because technically I don't think many people would disagree with that. But if we're talking players that bring the team together in a way, say someone like Steven Gerrard did, then it would be a different.
Well, it's tricky. That's why it's a tricky question, because there's so many different ways you can analyse it.
I mean, that's why I was gonna. I mean, you kind of mentioned it yourself there, Kieran, which is what he's got me kind of curious about this debate as well. Why it's interesting is what's the criteria for being the best Premier League player? Is it the longevity? Is it how many trophies you win? Is it how talented you actually were? How skillful you were as a player? Is it the combination of all of it together? Because like we're saying, Steven Gerrard in that regard should never be considered the greatest Premier League player ever, because he never even won a Premier League title, did he? But if I had to give my two cents on it, it's a toss up, I think, between Giggs and David Silva for me. Those are, I mean, I think Giggs for simply the longevity of it. One club man, played his whole career there. The amount of trophies he won. I think I pulled some sort of stat up earlier. I can't remember if this changed or not, so I could be slightly off on a few here, but 12 Premier League titles, 8 Community Shields, as daft as they are, but still got 8 of them, 4 FA Cups, 4 League Cups, and 2 Champions League trophies. Like any other player can't really rival that. Maybe Paul Scholes, just because he was in the same team pretty much. So in that regard, and he was a good player as well. There's no denying that Giggs wasn't a good player. He was still playing into like 38, 39 years old. I think until his last season, he had a record as well of scoring in every Premier League season that he played in, even when he was only coming on as a sub towards the end of it. But alternatively, the reason why I'd also say David Silva is I don't think there's been a player as technically gifted as him in the Premier League at all. I can't think of a single player, or maybe it's just I've really enjoyed watching him at the same time. There was some sort of elegance to the way that David Silva played, like the footballing brain inside of him. I just felt was something sort of beautiful to watch. I know it might sound a bit sort of sappy in that sense, but I really enjoyed that player just in between the lines, just being able to dribble past anyone, hold the ball up so well, and play those passes that no one else could see on a pitch. And that's why I absolutely loved watching David Silva. And he chipped in with important goals, chipped in with important assists. He kind of had it all for me. And I think, like we sort of said in the last week, we've clearly seen how much a player like him, I think, is missed in City right now. And on the flip side, how much a player like him, even as he's got older, Real Sociedad have put on a hell of a start to the season in La Liga. And is it simply just down to him? And, you could argue.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're going to make me have to pick one, I'm going to say Ryan Giggs. Simply just because of what he managed to achieve in that whole time he was there, and because he played in the Premier League, I think, all of his life as well, which, if you're going to go for greatest Premier League player, I'll put it down to that. But I really do push David Silva up close to that.
I mean, it's a difficult one for me, but I mean, it's going to be an obvious one, because he's the man that I grew up with watching. He's one of the main reasons why I fell in love with Arsenal, and it is, as you said, Kieran, King Thierry Henry.
What a shock! Couldn't have seen that one coming, could we?
Nah, it's just it's a biased opinion for me. I get the shout for Cristiano Ronaldo, and had he stayed in the Premier League maybe 2 or 3 more seasons, I might have agreed with you, because he was an unbelievable player, but he didn't, like you said as well, spend his absolute prime in the Premier League, whereas Thierry Henry did. And I mean, he only left Arsenal pretty much at the end of his career. He's got a statue outside of the Emirates, and he had that pretty much before he'd even retired from football. I'm not sure if the same will. I'm not sure Cristiano Ronaldo will have a statue outside of United, but I'm damn sure he will outside of Real Madrid. So if we're talking about the greatest Premier League player, he was unbelievable for 6-7 seasons. Just he grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck, and when I mean that, he literally ran through teams. He scored unbelievable goals. He was an all-round great team player. It wasn't just all about him. If players were in better positions, he scored the perfect goal. But yeah, he got 19 assists in one season being a centre forward. I mean, that's just ridiculous as well. So yeah, it's an obvious choice, but I don't think anyone, who watches the show, would argue with that.
Just before Shay probably agrees with that, I want to throw another person into the mix. I'm not too sure exactly how you can compare him to the rest of them, but John Terry, I think he was the Premier League's best defender. He was part of the team that Chelsea had where they conceded the least amount of goals ever in the Premier League. He kept the team together. I'm sure they'd all agree with that, other than maybe Wayne Bridge. And I just think he's got to be there. I think he's got to be up there.
Yeah, he's a shout, definitely.
It's tough for a defender to win it, though, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Just because they're not as glamorous to watch, I think is what always holds a defender back a bit. Yeah.
I've got to say, before we go to Shay, because I know Shay is going to say Henry as well. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't. My argument has always been with Henry. I've never, obviously, you know how I feel about Arsenal. I've never denied how good Henry was. You can't really. But my problem with Henry is, on what criteria can you give him the best ever player? Because he wasn't the greatest goal scorer in Premier League history. That was Shearer. He wasn't the best all-round player or the greatest player, full stop. Like I said, I believe that's Ronaldo. He wasn't the best technical player. That's why I don't think you can give it to him. And the key reason I don't think you can give it to him is because in that Arsenal side he played in, he wasn't the best player in that side. Dennis Bergkamp was better than him.
He was.
That's your opinion. That's your opinion, though. It's not.
I agree with that, though, Kieran. Bergkamp was the better footballer, but all-round player. Henry was. He was a killer. Go on, Shay.
As James or JD said, what are we basing it on? Because is it longevity? Is it goals? Is it who we enjoy watching most? Because there's so many names that you could throw into the hat. I mean, for me, if we're talking the most talented Premier League player ever, then obviously it's Cristiano Ronaldo. Because career-wise, when he retires, he is going to be, when he retires, he will be in the same status as Maradona, Pele, that status there, basically.
Yeah.
If we're talking longevity, at the top is Ryan Giggs. If we're talking impact, we could say Drogba, we could say David Silva. So the two best Premier League players of all time for me, all-rounded, I'd probably say Cristiano Ronaldo first and Thierry Henry slightly behind him. I probably have maybe Scholesy and Giggsy and Gerrard and Lampard.
I'm surprised no one's actually mentioned Rooney yet. I feel like, I don't think you could say he's the best ever, but he's got to be in the mix. His goal-scoring record in the Premier League was just something else. I think particularly up until around 2011, I think that's where he started to go off the boil a bit. But I think especially when he was younger, he was an absolute killer up front. He was another level when he burst into the scene. So I think he's got to be in the mix as well.
Years. But Kieran, the problem is there that he had such a decline, didn't he? That's
he did.
He did. That's why I don't think he can be put up there. And that's what makes this subject so difficult as well. That ultimately it comes down to what we enjoy seeing as well from players. And that's why this subject will always be opinionated.
There's so many. Rio hasn't even been given a mention yet. I think John said Terry as the best defender in Premier League history, and therefore he needs to put him in the list. But I actually would say Rio over him. I think Rio had everything you want as a defender. I think he was ahead of his time as well, because we see a lot of ball-playing centre-backs now, and Rio was, I think, the perfect ball-playing centre-back. I think he's definitely got to be on the list. Ashley Cole as well. I think you've got to make a case for him, because he was the best left-back in the world when he was in his prime. So he was the best in his position. So how can you not put him in the hat as well? It's really difficult. I didn't expect us all to agree on it. But there's just so many names I think you've got to discuss.
100%. I mean, if we're even going to throw a goalkeeper into the mix, you've got to be looking at Peter Schmeichel. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be talking about Petr Cech, probably. It's
Petr Cech for me.
If we were going to go by, I suppose, positions, it might make it a bit easier. If we were going to say who's the best attacker, who's the best goalkeeper, who's the best defender, etc., then at least we could make a slot for some of these people. Because like you're saying, honourable mentions, we haven't even mentioned Vieira. We haven't mentioned, I think, I think Tony Adams got a shout as well for talking about some Arsenal players in there. I'd go Roy Keane as well.
Yeah, I was about to say Roy
deserves a
Keane.
mention. So
Cantona hasn't even been mentioned.
That's what I mean. And Matt Letizia, if you want to throw, sort of an outsider one in there, but
the list is endless, ain't it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
also,
really
another one we haven't even mentioned is Aguero. I feel like he's really goes under the radar, but his goal scoring record, he's been in England 9 years now. His goal scoring record is phenomenal. He's got to be in the list as well because of his goal scoring record and his achievements in the Premier League. There's a lot in there, but like I said, I'm going to stick with Ronaldo. I just can't see anyone surpassing him for a long while.
But to go back to Shea, obviously saying that he puts Ronaldo first, then Henry second. What made you come to that decision?
Cristiano Ronaldo all round is a better footballer. That's all it is. I know Ronaldo in 2008 was only 24 years old and he hadn't fully peaked yet, but to do what he did at that age, phenomenal. Had a great year, won a Champions League, and if Ronaldo had stayed in the Premier League, I believe that he would have had pretty much the same numbers as he was having in La Liga. Maybe not as much, but he would have been tearing things up. So I put him slightly ahead of Thierry Henry. So yeah.
So final decisions then, guys. Are we unanimously saying Cristiano Ronaldo is the greatest ever Premier League player?
I think it's majority rules though. If me and Shay say Ronaldo,
would be the case, I suppose.
He gets the majority.
James, what was your vote?
I went for Ryan Giggs, and I suppose just to add to another reason why I think Ryan Giggs is the greatest Premier League player of all time. He's been part of a United team that twice won the Premier League 3 years in a row. No other team's been able to do that, let alone a player be able to do it twice. And I don't know. I'll leave it at that.
And obviously Bradley's chosen Thierry Henry. Wow, yeah, okay. I guess Cristiano Ronaldo is officially the greatest ever Premier League player. Everyone, a little round of applause for him. All right, everyone. So game week 9, I believe now. Is that right, guys?
Yeah. No, it's game week 10. Sorry, I think
10. I think 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll do some quick previews and predictions for some of the games that we're more invested in. First of all, Arsenal against Wolves. Two good teams. Not quite Champions League performance, but it will be a good one, I reckon. Bradley and Shay, Arsenal fans, go ahead first.
It's going to be a very tough game. Wolves are very stubborn. They're a very, very stubborn side. Ever since Nuno's come in and they've come to the Premier League, they've literally... I don't think Wolves have ever got washed before by any top team. They haven't been washed. So it's going to be a very, very tough side. I think last year we played Wolves at the Emirates, and I think it was 1-1, I think it was.
I think we beat them 3-0 away. I think we beat them 3-0 towards the end of the season.
Yeah. So we basically
they did get washed.
And before that, we played them at our place, and it was a tough game. So it's going to be very, very tough. I think we'll have to score first to win the game. It'll be very, very tough. But I think should we win the game, I believe we'll win it 1-0. 1-0 in it, pretty much. Wolves are very, very stubborn.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. I mean, you said 400 and something minutes since we scored from open play, but forget that. It's almost 8 hours if you want to, 8 hours since we scored from open play. So we have to, it's written in the stars for us that we have to score in this next game from open play. I am confident if Thomas Partey is back, which I do think he will be. I heard it on another podcast that Partey is a lying amongst hyenas in midfield, and it couldn't be more truer. So if he's back, we've got a very good chance, and I'd probably say as well we'd probably nick it maybe 1-0 because we ain't scoring more than one from open play.
I was going to say I reckon it'll be a 2-1 win to Wolves. I think Wolves will do all right with possession and keep the game under control. Arsenal will score. It will be from a free kick. Colt, what do you reckon?
I don't think Arsenal will score. I don't think they haven't looked threatening in the last few games at all. I think their problems are going to go on because I just can't see where the goals are coming from without them getting a service to Aubameyang. Wolves are a good team. I agree with Shay. I think Wolves will do a job on a lot of teams, but I just don't see Arsenal winning this. I think it's going to be a 2-0 to Wolves, to be honest.
Over to you, James.
I suppose not much more to add really than what everyone said. It will be a bit of a tough fixture. I think it could actually it might be a bit of a dull one, to be honest. Just with the way that Arsenal are playing, like we're saying, they're not really getting many goals. And Wolves, I think since they've lost Jota, have lost a bit of attacking potency as well, but they're still a tough team to break down. So I'm going to take a guess. I want to say a draw, so I'm going to say 1-1 because I want to actually see some goals, but it could be another 0-0 for Arsenal.
All right, good predictions. Next game we want to talk about is Manchester United versus Southampton.
I mean, we're playing away, which we've had a bit more luck with that actually this season. Old Trafford's actually been our kryptonite a bit. So in some ways, I'm a bit more confident about that game in that sense. But Southampton have just been playing really well this season. I mean, we won midweek in the Champions League. Won, obviously, with a poor performance against West Brom. Beat Everton as well before the break. So we've got a few wins going for us. So I'm going to be confident, but I don't think we're keeping a clean sheet. Put it this way, we won 4-1 against Istanbul yesterday, but we, at least in my opinion, defensively, even though it was 4-1, there were some shocking decisions and performances with how we were defending, defenders running into each other and things like that. I was doing my head in. So I'm going to say 2-1 United.
Okay.
And I think Bruno's going to get another penalty.
Bold predictions. It's an interesting game. Man U Southampton too. Southampton have started the season quite well. Man U, as we've discussed, have been quite mix and match with their performances and how results go. I expected them to lose against Everton, but they got the win there. So it's a tricky one. I think it'll be a draw. I think Southampton will get something out of the game. I'm going to go for a 1-1, and Bruno will get a penalty. Shock horror.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one for United because Southampton ain't no mugs and they can hit you and hurt you on the counter. So, it's going to be an interesting game. I actually think it could be quite a high-scoring game. I'm going to go for a 3-2 United. I just think in the end you might just have a bit too much for them. But it wouldn't surprise me if Southampton ruin Ollie's little run because it's just about time for another Ollie L.
Man United actually do very well on the road, actually, surprisingly. They actually love travelling. They love being out of Old Trafford. And Southampton, to me, they're a decent side. But I think I think missing Danny Ings is going to probably haunt them a little bit because he is a threat to whoever he plays against. In the Premier League era, they've played 42 times. United has 26 wins, Southampton has 7 wins, and there's 9 draws. So I have to say Man United will win at St. Mary's, and they win at St. Mary's 2-0.
I actually think Southampton will win it. It's not written in stone or anything, but I think Southampton have got goals in them even without Danny Ings, and I think Theo Walcott is back. It's like being in 2005 again. So I'm going to say 2-1. All right, guys. Well, next, who have we got next? It is Spurs against Chelsea.
Yeah,
big game.
Tough game. Mourinho obviously going against a former club. Both teams, I think, looking quite good at this stage. Lampard seems to have shored up that defence a bit more from when we last really went in depth about them. Spurs looking really good under Mourinho. It's a tough one to call this one. I think they trade wins quite frequently. No one really has the dominance over the other on this. But with how Kane and Son are playing, I can't back against how they've been playing recently. Especially after last week, they're going to be high on confidence. And I think they'll get the win over Chelsea as well. I'm going to go 3-1 to Spurs on this.
One thing I just wanted to say as well, I've been looking on Reddit quite a bit recently on the football subreddit. Even though the rivalry traditionally was Spurs and Arsenal, Chelsea absolutely hate Spurs. Have any of you lot noticed online?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
That is one thing that Chelsea and Arsenal fans have in common, that we have a real disdain for Spurs. I don't know why Chelsea hate them so much, but yeah, there is real disdain from both sides.
See, JD, the thing is, JD, is that in London, realistically, the 2 biggest rivalries in London are Arsenal, Tottenham, and Millwall and West Ham. Chelsea on their side of London, they've only got Fulham and Brentford and QPR. So for them, they need something. They need a rival, so they've made Spurs their rival. But Spurs will tell you the game against us is the big one. But Chelsea hate Spurs, Spurs hate Chelsea. But that is a secondary rivalry compared to Arsenal, Spurs, and Millwall, West Ham. But it's a big game still. Still a very, very big game. Mr. Lampard is actually starting to get the best out of his players. He's actually got a keeper in there that looks solid in Mendy, and he's looking like he's finding some cohesion now. And it seems like Mr. Werner and Tammy play well together. So Spurs don't have a good record at Stamford Bridge, but Lampard to me still isn't a top. I mean, he's a good coach, but I'm still not fully convinced by him. So I think this game will end up Chelsea 2, Tottenham 2.
This is going to be the game that Spurs can show what they're really about. Because even when we played City a few weeks ago, it's disappointing that we didn't win. But I just think with this particular game, I think Spurs are going to lose. I think, like you said, Shay, they've shored up that goalkeeping position, which I actually think has been a major part of their defence being a lot better. Kepa was just too suspect. And I think they just have enough tools up top, with Ziyech, he's on form, Werner on form, to actually hurt Spurs' defence. I don't think that City have really did anything last week to Spurs that really put them under pressure, but I think Chelsea will. And I think it will really tell, what Spurs are really about. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Chelsea.
For some reason or other, I think there's just a bit of momentum to Spurs at the moment. And although Chelsea obviously have a bit of, that momentum going as well, they should up the defence a fair bit more. Don't think they've had a real test of the game for a few games now. Do you know what I mean? Like Champions League this week, they played against Rennes, which I personally don't think's, that big of a challenge. The Son-Kane partnership and the way that those guys are just constantly either getting a goal or assist, I think they're going to just do it again to Chelsea. I think even though you've got Werner playing well, Ziyech playing well, you got Havertz, I think, back from his injury. I just think Tottenham may pull another sort of City where they have a City performance where they have 2 shots on target, 2 goals, and defend the rest of the game and just shut off that space for all of the creativity in the Chelsea lineup. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 Spurs win. Just
to give my thoughts on the game as well, I do think there'll be goals in it. I'm thinking maybe even a 3-3 draw. Just to look at the table says that they've both got the best goal difference in the league. Tottenham scored 21, conceded 9. Chelsea got 22 and conceded 10. So it should be quite tight and there should be quite a few goals in it. So yeah, 3-3 draw, why not? All right, lastly, Leeds against Everton. Go on, Kieran, start us off.
Really tough game. I think Everton are a better team than Arsenal. So it is a really tough game. That's why I said I thought it was important we didn't lose on Sunday. But I'm hopeful after the performance we put in on Sunday, there's no reason why we can't get a result against Everton. I think we'll play the same way. I'm hoping we use that formation we used on Sunday. So we definitely look a lot more stable at the back for that. Everton have got some dangerous players going forward. So I think we should stick with that. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm going to be positive because you've got to be after the show on Sunday. So I'm going to say that Don Bielsa teaches Don Ancelotti a lesson. And I'm going to go a 3-2 Leeds United win.
Carlo is 10 times the coach your guy will ever be. What are you on about? He's won 3 Champions Leagues. Your coach failed with Argentina. He failed.
And we'll go after him like we've gone after every other team. We ain't scared of no one. We don't respect anyone. We're here to ruffle feathers and play some good football. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're going for Everton on Saturday.
JD, here is my prediction. I'm guessing it's at Goodison Park. Is that correct, yeah?
I think it is, yeah.
Yes, Leeds are overhyped. They can't finish for shit. We actually opened our legs and they couldn't finish on Sunday. So I think they'll be beaten comfortably by Everton. James Rodriguez will basically look forward to running past Calvin Phillips. He'll run rings around him, and also Robert Koch is the bomb. So
why didn't you score against him then?
We had 10 men. That's why we had 10 men.
What about the first half?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
That's what I mean. You can't now call our defenders bums when you couldn't score against them. What does that say about your team?
We had 10 men, but anyway, Everton will win 4-1 against Leeds. Leeds are only 7 points above the drop zone. If Leeds lose 1 or 2 more games, they're in it. They're in it, basically.
Well, hang on.
They're in it.
We're 6 points below 5th. That's how congested the table is. So that's just rubbish. We're closer to the top 5 or 6 than we are to the bottom.
Well, I'll just offer my thoughts. I think Leeds will concede some goals. I think it will maybe be a 2-1 to Everton.
I actually agree with you. I think Leeds are going to get spanked in this game. Everton look back to their best last weekend. Bamford's going to be fluffing his lines as usual. And you'll see the man up top, on the other side, he'll be saying, "Oh, that's what I need to do to get into the England squad." Because, I'm going to go. I'm going to go for. I'm not as bad as Shay 4-1. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Everton, but I think they'll dominate the game.
Yeah, I think the same. I'm predicting 3-1 Everton in this game. And it's not to say that I think Leeds will play badly. I think they'll put Everton under a lot of pressure. But I've highlighted it, I think, in a few of the previous podcasts with Everton. The player they were missing, and I didn't really think he'd make that much of a difference to the team, was Richarlison. And as soon as he comes back into the team last week, him and Rodriguez seem to have all that creativity to them to let Calvert-Lewin do what he needs to do. They take players away from him. They create space for him. And that's seemingly how they're getting the best out of all three of each other and getting the goals for Everton. But they need to all be playing together. And I actually thought Iwobi had a pretty good game for Everton last week as well. I mean, maybe it just seems a bit like Leeds have dried up a bit on the goals as well, I think, is, as much as the boys are bantering Bamford, he does have 7 or 8 goals this season. So he has been doing well. But in your past 3 Premier League games, you've only got, 2 goals? When at the start you were getting, 3, 4, 2 at least, you know what I mean, in the first few fixtures. And I don't know if that's just a case of teams maybe have found you out a little bit, or, if it is like the Arsenal game, your finishing's just been a bit lackluster of late. But I think it will just continue on that trend, at least for this game. And I think Everton will get that win.
Colt, have you got any final thoughts on your team?
Yeah, I look forward to me being right again. That's all I can say. I think Leeds will win this game. I'll revel in it next week. That's all I'll say.
Mate, you'll be sending your same frustrated, angry voice note, like you usually do. When
I think the boys here sell Leeds short. I really do. And Leeds have got nothing to fear against any team. If we can go for Liverpool and City, we can go for any team in this division. Results at Leicester and Palace will happen because of the way we play, but we will win more games than we lose. So I've got no worries, and I'm confident we'll get a result on Saturday. Sorry.
On that note, guys, let's leave it for the week. We'll be back next Friday, discussing all of the results. And we'll have a new topic for you next week as well, which we'll decide upon in the week. But for now, it's bye from all of us. Say goodbye, everyone. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Bye.
All right. Cheers, lads.
All right, done.
So nothing about Maradona, eh?